680,000 folks in Oklahoma rely on SNAP benefits. To help them, state leaders are calling for a special legislative session to find emergency funds. The need is real out there. The Salvation Army in Oklahoma reports so many people called looking for food help, the charity's phone lines crashed. Joining us now, Oklahoma State Senate Democratic leader Julia Kirt. Thank you very much for joining us, Madam Leader.
Sure, glad to.
So are you going to have that special session?
You know, I haven't heard that my Republican colleagues are willing yet, but I'm hoping they'll have the courage. We put out another call this morning with a lot more specifics in it, and we're hoping they're ready to take action.
Why would they not be?
You know, what I've heard from them is a lot of fear about whether the federal government's going to pay us back. Also, a lot of the same talking points we hear in Washington, D.C., where we're going to expect Democrats to just get in line with the Republicans there. And we know that there needs to be real negotiations, and that's what we're asking for.
The president a moment ago said that largely people who are on SNAP benefits are Democrats. He then added that it's his job to take care of everybody, but he did make a point of trying to politicize who gets SNAP benefits and who does not. Has that been your understanding of who receives SNAP benefits in Oklahoma?
Wow, that's not the case. I mean, looking at the statistics, we have a much higher need for food in rural areas. I believe our rural areas go up to 18% of people having SNAP benefits. So what we see is places that probably, you know, I don't know how they vote, but I'm guessing that all types of political stripes are needing that assistance. And we're talking about working people. You know, I've talked to people who work full-time or multiple jobs and still qualify for SNAP. So it's people not being paid enough is who's getting those benefits.
So it's $100 million per month. That's what it could cost a state to afford these SNAP benefits. Do you understand the concern that maybe the state can't afford this, especially if they're not going to get paid back?
You know, we set aside over $100 million last year just for special projects that's waiting to be spent. We have $1.4 billion in our rainy day fund, and we can access part of that. So to me, the amount of harm that can be caused by a month of children not having enough to eat is worth spending some of that money.
Let me play a little bit from your governor, Governor Stitt, calling on help from nonprofits and private citizens.
We've talked to our churches, nonprofits, ask everyone to assess the situation to figure out a path forward. So I encourage you, every Oklahoma can go to beaneighbor.org. And if you need food assistance, that's where you go, to beaneighbor.org. And you can find a list of local churches, of some of the food banks, the nonprofits in your area that can help you bridge that gap if this continues for any length of time.
You know, we do have amazing charities in this country. We've got amazing religious centers and churches that help out. We've got amazing generosity from individual citizens. We are great to each other individually, but this is still a country where so many of our fellow countrymen have to look to the government for help because they're not making enough in their paychecks. Do you see a viable path out of a status quo where millions upon millions of Americans cannot make ends meet?
Yeah, I mean, we know we need higher wages. We see it every day here. People are being exploited. We use excuses like the low cost of living as a reason why our minimum wage is still the federal minimum wage, $7.25. Until we can bump that up and get people paid something they can live on, it doesn't matter how cheap things are. They're going to be relying on the government.
Is there a way to get them paid more without bankrupting the state?
Well, you know, short term, we've got to fix things. We've got to do these interim fixes like putting more funding from the state into our food programs. But next summer, the citizens have put forward a state question that'll specifically raise the wage in Oklahoma. And it would be an incremental increase to more livable wages. I'm so glad that Oklahomans gave up on the legislature because we certainly weren't going to increase the wages. None of those bills will get heard that my colleagues will file to increase the minimum wage. And so next summer, the people will get a chance to vote on that.
All right, Madam Leader, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate your time, especially in such an important moment as this one.